The biblical definition of faith is belief in something you cannot see. Belief in the unknown, belief in the next step, belief in a God that you can't physically feel. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. It's the thing that keeps Christians going, and it's also the thing that people need in everyday life, whether they're Christian or not. You need faith to believe that every day is worth living and that you have a purpose, even if you can't see it right now.
I think community is so important. I think the world tells us, or culture tells us, that success is like going from a baby where you're really dependent to like full adulthood is total independence. And I've really experienced like here that we're created for interdependence. So we're not created to be dependent upon one another, but there's a level of like interdependence where we're able to learn through trusted friendships, both transparency and then vulnerability and then really accountability. I think the more that you are in a trusted friendship and you allow someone to see into your life and actually see like the reality of who you are, they start to get to sharpen you and change you and enable you to grow, not only for yourselves but for other people. But I think community brings the best out of you. There's no hiding places, which I think is great. It is no cliche, like it genuinely has changed my life. I would say before I was a Christian, I lived my life very from the position, firmly from the position of fearing the judgment of people. So probably most of my decisions, whether conscious or subconscious, was out of the place of like the fear of the judgment of people around me. I got the revelation of the understanding that nothing I do actually determines my worth. The gospel, like the Bible, really quite clearly states that it's by grace we're saved, not by works, so that we can't boast. And everything around me tells me do something so you can boast about it. And like faith was the gift that I never deserved, that Jesus gave to me, because he said, you, James, are worth me dying for. I don't know anyone around here who's saying that kind of thing. He's going, my business, I will give it up for you, or I will die so that you could have all my wealth. It's a reckless sacrifice. And I really believe, having experienced it, not just known it in my head, but experienced it in my heart, that the gospel is genuinely transformative, because it comes inside of us by his spirit, like into our spirit. Everyone's about spirituality. When Jesus enters into your spirit, where you actually like build a friendship, not just like with my body, but in there, deep within me, there's like an assurance, a confidence. You can take the world, you can get all the world and lose your soul, and it's never worth it.
Like in life, there's lots of suffering in this world, but Jesus has defeated suffering and replaced death with life. And that's what he's done with my life. There's been lots of pain in my life, but he's changed it to beauty for ashes. So
parents always do their best, but they're always gonna kind of fall short. So I had to process a lot of pain, really, but inviting God into that and the Father into that. So I see the Father as an unconditionally loving Father. That's who he is. So when you can access unconditional love, when you're feeling like deep shame or deep rejection or deep self-hatred or whatever you might be feeling, when you invite the unconditional love of the Father into that, it just brings it's like a little balm for your heart, it's like a little soothing balm. I think the trouble with the self-help movement is it's all about us, and it's like we can fix everything. It's like we actually can't. We actually desperately need others, and we were created to need others, and we were created by a creator. So self-help doesn't actually work. It will take you around in circles. It's really important to be connected to your heart. And if that's new language, it just means recognizing, acknowledging, listening, hearing what your heart needs. So your feelings, your emotions, being really present with your self, basically your whole self, and not just being in your head and ignoring what your heart's actually saying. So being connected to your heart is just so important, because feelings aren't facts, but they're really, really helpful guiders, and they're really, really helpful pointers. And it helps you be more present in life. Whether or not this is something you believe or have experienced, know that there is a Father fighting for you. Know that there's a Father that deeply loves you and is longing to be close to you. Not only that, but created you for intimacy with him, created you to be close to him. His plan was always to be in relationship with you. So know that in all the confusion of finding out who you are, or the trickiness of like doing relationships. Know that there's one relationship that's really quite simple when we say yes to it. Know that there's a relationship out there that's pursuing you every day, that's loving you every day, that's fighting for you every day, that is really deeply for you.
Part of my backstory is that my mum growing up was severely ill. She was diagnosed with a brain tumour, and that was a massively testing period for my family, and particularly also just with that as well, being a diabetic, and from the age of 4, being sort of told I couldn't do things from a very early age, and having needles and all types of wires put into me. And I think having such a close relationship with suffering means that, automatically you question your faith, because one of the biggest things that people talk about is like, how on earth can God, who's meant to be all good, all knowing and all powerful, prevent suffering on earth? My mum incredibly survived at that part of her life, and it has gone on, and is now amazingly healthy. Having those experiences has basically meant that for me, I had to go, right, what is my faith? What does my faith mean? How can I equate this? How can I equate this major suffering on one hand? How can you allow this, God? How can you allow my mum to go through, just seemingly suffering after suffering after suffering? How's that fair? And it was really this realization that the entire point of the cross is God going, you live in a broken world. I didn't give this. I didn't put this upon you. While I allowed it to happen, I sent my son, Jesus, to die and suffer in what was at that time the most painful method of torture, the most painful death on the face of the earth, so that I, as the God, as the tripartite God, as the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, could experience human suffering on a scale that meant that I could come to you, come alongside you, and I know what that's like. And no other religion, no other major faith-based system, no other faith system on the planet has the deity, has God that comes down and experiences human suffering with humans and goes, I see the world you live in, but I love you so much that I want to sit with you in that and experience that.
Yeah, when I was 7.5, my mom passed away. And then after that, we kept going to church. And I think, when I think about it now, I look back and I'm like, God was preparing everything. And he even prepared my mom, and he prepared my dad as well. So he prepared her heart in a way that she was preparing us to live a life without her. And in a way that she used to just have conversations with us. She was telling us about everything about God's kingdom and the purpose of living this life here. I never felt so secure and convinced about something in my life before. People normally will be like, I'm good by myself, I'll figure it out by myself, I don't need anyone to help me, I'm just gonna do it. But we're so fragile, humans are so fragile.
Faith in my life has been hard. I think faith to believe that there was a point, faith to believe that I was going to make it through. And I will be honest, I've been angry at God multiple times, but I think God welcomes anger, and he welcomes true emotions. He's not asking for you to be this perfect version of yourself when you come to him. You can come to him in tears. You can come to him angry as long as you come to him. There's going to be a moment in your life where you'll come to face something, and whether you're new to the faith or old to the faith or seasoned to the faith, this will be the real test of faith, because there will be things that God won't deliver you from. And people don't like to hear that answer. They think God will always save you. He will. God will always be there for you. He will. But when you pray his will above mine, and you understand the kind of world that we live in, and also the consequences of free will, you're going to be in a lot of pain. Jesus said, the things that I've been through, you might be through worse, but take heart because I've already overcome the world. But he never said you won't struggle. He never said you won't cry. He never said you won't be a person like my mother who is looking at her situation with hopelessness, or you won't be the child whose whole life has exploded and is now battling suicide. That's not what he said. He said that he would be there through it.
You are not where you went to school. You are not where you went to university. You are not, the family you've come from. You are not the friends you hung out with. You are not the clothes you wear. You're one thing, basically, and you're loved by God. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out with us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. For the joy that was set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinners, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart.
It's everything. I wouldn't picture a day in my life without Jesus and without faith.